Okay, so first of all, just a few things from before. Um, there was a request for a bit more curvature. Before that, there was a request for information sharing about how saving system is different in Revit and how you're probably safe in terms of files being saved and autosave is being very good in Revit. You are most likely not to lose any file because of system crash and that kind of thing. So James is going to explain that.
Oh, okay. Well, the way Revit saves, it'll always overwrite your file and just save a new version and just keep it to the same folder that you keep your Revit file in. And you can like tweak how many versions your file will save at. So like I've had it before where I've saved like 100 versions of my file and it'll just like take up so much room on my computer. So I can't remember where it was exactly.
I think it's down here somewhere.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Somewhere in there you can tweak how many versions you save.
Yeah. So
and I'll just do it automatically.
Yes. So that's that. And then also, let's do, okay, in one of the tutorials in the future, I'm going to cover the whole massing thing in Revit. A part of that is that whatever you have in your Rhino model as NURBS or polys, you can bring into Revit and define them as walls and floors and use what you have modeled outside. But there are also tools in Revit that you can do massing in more complicated curvature or angular forms that are not very easily achieved with walls. There are some approaches to them that you can, but you can still draw curves and some softness could be defined maybe this way, but there are better ways for doing this that I'm gonna show you later. So yeah, so some of these stuff could happen, but there are better ones that I'll show you guys later. Okay, so what I'll cover now is a little bit of managing tab up here, and by managing I don't mean manage, I mean just the manage tab. So here, first thing is the setting tools that you have. So there are a lot of things that you want to change in your overall project. You can access through here. Either is how your things are snapped, or your materials, or your units. You can access them through here and change them in the setting when you need them. Also, you can set a location for your project. This is one of the cool features of Revit, so you can define a location. So let me just click on that and look for Calgary. I think I didn't find it last time and I did something else. It's in Boston. Let's just go find it manually. Calgary. Probably I can make it a bit bigger. Okay, that's that. And then we are here in the boss loop, let's say. Oh, forgot that. I need to move this thing over. I'm sure there's a better way for doing this. But anyways, this is somewhere in Calgary. Because you can do a lot of climate studies and shadow studies in Revit, it's very good to have your location defined nicely. So then when you go back and do a sun study, it's more accurate. I'm going to show that here quickly as well. So under manage, you can change overall stuff, whether it's project information or other kind of settings, or if it's location stuff, you can change them from here. You could also open your Dynamo through this that we're going to cover in the next module. And then you can manage your project in terms of the links and images that you have in your file. If you don't have any for now, so it doesn't really make sense. But let's say if you bring in a CAD file from somewhere, and then later you want to remove it, you want to reload it, you want to do something with it, it will show up here under CAD formats. And it doesn't mean an AutoCAD drawing, it means any other external files that you link to your file. It may be your Revit massing. If you will see through here, and you can edit it or reload it and that kind of things. That's for managing, and then we got a few stuff to cover for views. So when you wanna, I showed you guys how to create new views, but for plans. So when you're under the view, you have a few graphic tools over here that I'm gonna show you quickly in a bit. But the first thing is how to create some views. So under here, you can click on this guy and create a 3D view. So let's say I'm on this plan view. I click on it, it will give me the 3D view. Or if I'm here and I click on this arrow, I want to put in a camera, then it's in perspective and it's in a different mode, and it will put a camera there for me. Just quickly, I can turn on the shadows, and now this tool that I was talking about, the navigation tool, is very helpful when you have a camera. So I can zoom back. I can, why is it a bit different? Okay, it usually has the pan and walking and looking up and down. I don't know why they're not showing up in this, but you should be able to control your camera as if you are standing there, you want to look up and down. I'm sure if you guys tried it on your computers, you can see that these tools are there for you to use. But anyways, that's how to put in a camera view, and you can see it while the view is selection, and then the camera will disappear. To see that again, you need to right click and say show camera on your 3D view, then it will show the camera, and then it will disappear again. So if you needed to see the camera, you can use that tool. That's how to create a 3D view. You could also make sections like this, that easy. You can give them names and details, define how much it's capturing. Maybe you don't want to see anything past that line. Maybe you want to go all the way to the end. You want to extend it to here or not. That's the decision you can make. You can also change the graphics of how it's represented, and you can also change the direction of the section. And then when you double click on this guy, it will show you the section. It's also accessible through here. You can see I've got a sections portion now, and section 1 is this guy. This thing around here is my cropping region that I was mentioning on the bottom there. I will cover all those later, but for now, if there's something missing, I can extend this just to make sure that I see everything I need to see in that view. Okay, going back to this, you could make elevations. Last time we talked about how these are your elevation tools in the scene. By clicking on them, it will show you the elevations that you have. You can also make plans that I showed you guys. So the majority of the creation we have covered. And then when you have something created already and you are in that view, nothing else is selected, this properties is reflecting your view properties. So you can change your properties through there. So let's say I'm in this plan view and I want to look at my properties. The first thing is the scale. Of course, on a screen, it doesn't matter what my scale is, but it is trying to match the scale with the sizes of the graphics that it's showing, so that when I place it on a sheet, it makes more sense that it's in that specific scale and it reads better. So it's important to have the right scale set. The next thing you can set is the visibility graphics. So this is a window that shows what is showing up and what is not showing up. You can access it through here with visibility graphics, or you can access it up there through the same function, visibility graphic, under views, visibility graphic. What it does is that it's saying, okay, the doors, I want to see them or not. If it's unchecked, I won't see them. I don't know, the windows, the walls, do I want to see them or not? Let's say I don't want to see them. I check all of them and I say okay. Now you can see I only see my floor because I defined them not to be shown. If I go back and turn them on, you will see them in the place. One thing that is mainly an issue and you will use a lot is to turn on and off your massing, because by default the mass is to be turned off. So if you have a mass imported from Revit, from Rhino or something else into your file and it's not showing up, it's because probably your visibility graphic mask is turned off. So you need to go back, turn this on, say okay, then your mask will show up if that's the reason why you're not seeing it. Next thing is the graphic display options that will let you edit how you see things in your view. So I'll go to this tree view and I'll turn on the shadow so that I can see this better. So first thing, I can smooth the lines. You can see these are a little bit jagged, like they are vector lines that are not very soft. If I click on this, they will be smooth. I can change a few different things like transparency, the style I'm seeing, and that kind of thing. Next thing, I can change the shadows if I want to see an ambient shadow as well. Do I want to see cast shadow? You can see I have a little bit of ambient shadow showing up now. I can turn on the cast shadow as well. If I want to do sketchy lines for whatever reason, I have the tool here to do so. Probably not. Then if I want to do depth cueing, I can do that too. I'll show that in an elevation what that means. Lighting, I can play with my ambient lights, my shadows, my sunlight and all that, and apply it and see how that will change my image quality there. I will go back to this lighting in a bit. And then some more, what is my background? Is it nothing? Is it sky? Is it an image? Is it a gradient? What I'm seeing there is all controlled through this graphic display option. Two things that I didn't show, one is depth cueing, I'll show in elevation, but the lighting is where I was talking about the location. If you want to do a sun study, you can actually, instead of just a random sun location, you can click on this in session lighting bottom up here and define, okay, I want it to be a single day, I want it to be this specific day and this specific time, and now show me what does sun do to my building in that specific given time. And you can extend this more and say, you don't have to know this, but just quickly, you can say I want to have, and then there are some presets you can select from. You can say I want to do a multi-day, and I want to do a multi-day solar study. You will say okay, and then down here, if you go turn on your sun study preview, you can play, and it should show you how your sun is changing through that time that you have defined for your project. I wish I knew how to stop it. Okay, it stopped itself. Anyways, you can turn on through here or off, and then you can edit the settings under lighting there. So for now, I'm just gonna keep it to still, and just say it's a summer solstice, and I'll say okay. There, that's what I'm getting. Other thing I didn't show was the depth cueing. So let's say I've got an elevation that is this guy, and my shadows on. I go to my graphics. I want it to be smooth, some ambient light. Let's say it's okay. What does depth cueing do is makes the background a bit white and the foreground pop out based on what I define here. I can play with those numbers and definitions, but it's very useful when you want to put focus on front of your building. There's a lot going in the background. You don't want to show all of it. You want to really define where the focus point is. That's how to do it through a depth cueing. The reason it was not doing it in the 3D view for me is that, not this one, but actually this one, is because I don't have, it's a ortho view. I don't have a definition of back and forth, so I can't do it here, but in an elevation, this is my front and this is my back, so I can't really define a line and cut it through there. Okay, Then the next thing through here is okay. All right, so down here, when you are in a plan view, you could also have the sun on and off in the plan if you need it. You can look at your underlays. So let's say I'm on level 2, and I'm not really seeing much because um, there is nothing happening on that level for me. So this is all that is happening on level 2. Under underlays, I can say in my level 2, also show my level 1 as an underlay so that when I'm drawing, I know what to respond to in my drawing. So that's another tool that you can use in your views. Um, you could also edit your view range, which will define where your cut line is, where your top and bottoms are. So again, on my level 2, I can say my depth, I want it to go to level 1. And then what these cut means, that is a little bit difficult to explain, but remember we had this circular windows here, and this is showing that cut only because it is, give me 1 second here. Okay, now these are cut and that is open only because that's where it's cutting the plan for me. So if I change that cut elevation, it will cut it from a different location, and then now you can see how that is changing. So um, I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with how the plans are drawn. So you have a 3D model is cut from a certain height, and then depending on where it's cutting, you can see your doors, windows from where it's cut. And if you change that, maybe some properties are changed. That's where you can control it. Another thing that is good to know in a 3D view is that if you have set a camera or a 3D view, and anybody who goes in, including yourself, and rotates and orbits around, is messing with where your camera was set, and it's not something that you can um, trust and go back to because it's lost as soon as it's moved. But there's this tool down here that you can lock your view. So if I lock my 3D view using that, I need to give it a proper name, locked view. Now I can only orbit around, pan around, but no orbiting is allowed because the view is locked. So I'm safe for using it next time. So if you have a view that you want to repeat using on your sheets and stuff, make sure you lock them. I will unlock this so that I can orbit around. Okay, two more things. So I showed you guys this quickly last time that in the 3D view, there is this section box tool that is interesting, and it will basically give you a box that contains your project, and you can move different edges to get cuts in your geometry and present or study your model with those cuts. You can keep them and present these as views, but it's also interesting that if you export this 3D view to something else, it will include the cuts. So it will only export the portion that you can see if you're exporting this 3D view. So let's say I want to render this in as a 3D cut object, and I want to take it to 3ds Max or Maya or Rhino or whatever. I can just export this and it will give me all the cuts. That's pretty interesting. Um, and then the last thing is what we have down here. So first one over here, you can change your scale. You can change how accurate you're seeing your the details of the drawings. It doesn't change much usually, unless you are doing something in plan that it really means something. So let me just show you what that means. If you have not a generic wall type, if you have this wall type, um, you can see that it's not showing anything for you here. But as soon as you change it to medium or you change it to fine, it is showing more details of what's the wall assembly and what's inside the wall. So that's what this is changing. So if it doesn't matter, you can be on curse and just show it as a rough line drawing. If you need to show the interiors or what's inside a wall, you can change it to that. The other thing is, keep going back to that guy, this thing, so you can see your stuff in wireframe, you can see them in hidden lines, you can see them in shaded, you can see them in realistic, or different types that is showing the geometry for you. You can turn on and off your shadow using this tool. This guy is the sun path that we can probably talk about later. This thing is rendering dialog, doesn't really matter for now. This is the crop view, so if I turn this on, you can see that any view has a cropped region that I can change, and it is only showing whatever is inside the sky. And I can turn this off so that, let me cut a portion of it. So I can turn it off so that it's not cutting my view, or I can actually turn it on so that it is cutting my view. I can see it or not. I can turn it off and on. Then you can, if you have a specific element you want to work on, you can click on these eyeglasses. Then you will isolate that component and work on it if you need to. You could also hide stuff by selecting them, right-click, hide in view. If you want to bring them back, you will click on this light bulb. It will show the hidden stuff in red. Right-click, unhide, bring them back in. There. That's pretty much it about the views.